Welcome to the next installment of my Baki vs Kengan series. In particular, this long-awaited cross-verse what-if battle of Tokita Ohma vs Baki Hanma. Before beginning, most people already agree that Baki is faster and stronger, so today's video will be in the context of equal stats. So both characters will have the same base speed and the same base strength, working out which one is more skilled and a better fighter as a whole to decide the winner. This topic in particular has become more interesting after Ohma did the clapping of Lo Long, pulling out some pretty crazy OP Kure techniques on top of everything he already has regarding the Nico style. The breakdown will involve comparing various abilities, then of course a breakdown of the fight itself. Firstly, help your boy out by subscribing for more videos on either series. Now, let's begin. One situation which will pretty much guarantee Baki's win is if he has any prep time or prior knowledge on Ohma, as this will allow Baki to use his image training to surpass Ohma or create counters for any specific move. So we'll take that away for today's video as well. But just take note, any rematches would more likely go to Baki considering this ability, which is, pretty busted. Tokita Ohma demonstrated that he can now predict the inception of intent, meaning he has the ability to dodge attacks before they start, and if you consider this may also include striking pre-initiative, this would mean he can strike before his opponent moves. Baki is described to have a similar ability, which is outlined as reading the current brain signals to have insight to see the brain activity, which pretty much means the same as inception of intent in my opinion, but it could be argued as something far more advanced. I don't really see a way to argue that either Ohma or Baki can outpredict the other, at least with what we currently know, so I'm just going to say they're going to equal one another out with this ability, so it won't really be much of a factor, just like a cool exchange with them using it. Next is to consider ways that either of them can get faster or stronger mid-fight, such as Ohma using the advance and Baki using his demon back or his endorphin release. Let's discuss the advance first. It speeds up the heart rate, which increases speed and allows him to hit harder, having the ability to use it in quick blitzes to limit the downsides, or if needed to pretty much catch his opponent off guard. The exact increase it gives isn't really known. It can be argued as a 2 times or 3 times increase, I believe, but the exact, measurement isn't really known. Now the demon back, which has even less information, but do take note, Baki cannot activate it at will. He needs to take some considerable amount of damage, at least at the recording of today's video. And the exact increase again isn't known. Most people agree that it's at least again a 2 times or 3 times increase, but it is possible to argue that it's a lot higher considering stuff in his Udra fight and potentially some stuff in the Oliver fight, but it's more so regarding Udra. So again, for the sake of today's video, I'm just going to say they're around the same regarding the increase, but the demon back does directly increase strength unlike the advance and doesn't have the same downsides. We also have Baki who can activate his endorphins at will, which also has an increase that isn't really known, but he does get stronger and I guess faster when using this. Some other techniques of Ohma to include is the Kure tradition copy technique, which what we know allows him to copy stuff. To what degree, I cannot say, but he was able to replicate Lo Long's joint limpening technique, which is, I guess, very advanced. Baki has also shown the ability to copy techniques many times throughout the story, again after only seeing them once in various circumstances. For example, we have the cord cutting ability and the muck punch, with the muck punch potentially being kinda a win con in this situation, but I'm not really going to consider it as it's more so a speed thing in my opinion. Comparing the two's ability to copy techniques, from what we've seen in the story, Baki's is far more advanced. Ohma has only used it once for joint limpening. Hasn't been shown since then by any other character, very little is known, and copying something which is pretty much at the pinnacle of karate is probably better than this joint limpening in my opinion. Ohma also has his Nico style, which includes a large amount of techniques, and I mean large. covering pretty much everything in a fight: grappling, striking, defense, movement, sustainability, etc. Which also includes the ultimate secret technique Demon's Bane, which of course is very powerful. In a simplified explanation, it's a formless counter that sends the attacker's power back at them, amped with Ohma's power on top, and should really work on most attacks landing on Ohma, as he's able to do it with, the Devil Lance piercing him. Baki has shown various techniques and ways to amp his striking and grappling ability throughout the series, which also includes his godly flexibility. Using all this to such a degree, he's able to take someone as skilled as Yujiro to the ground with the King Tiger technique, a ultimate move of Baki's. And we all know how skilled the likes of Yujiro is, copying techniques, knowing all techniques, crazy stuff like that. He also has a pretty OP technique known as Bender. Quite a bit of characters in Baki actually have this technique or a similar version of it, which of course is the Whip Strike. This pretty much disregards strength and durability, as he's able to cause immense pain to someone like Pickle, one of the most durable characters in the series, and the explanations pretty much talk about this, with only Yujiro being able to counter it and needing to do stuff like this, which pretty much lasted a whole chapter. That's pretty much all the ability and comparisons I wanted to go over. Now let's discuss the What If battle. So I'm guessing it may begin with Ohma using his pre-initiative and Baki using his brain signal reading to cancel one another out. They may tag one another a little bit, but nothing major. Then we may have Baki activating his endorphins if he's considering Ohma as a threat. I am considering both fighters taking this fight very seriously. So Baki, for example, activates his endorphins, and Ohma may use his advance at a lower output. Let's say that puts both of them around the same when it comes to strength and speed still, but Ohma with the low output advance is still able to use his Nikko style and Kurei Clan techniques fairly well, so we're still chilling with that. If needed, he can use Kurei Clan techniques for extra close range combat. I'm sure Baki is skilled enough to handle that as well. But Ohma will start to take a slight advantage when using his various Nikko style techniques to amp his movement, attack power, and various other abilities like durability, like defensive measures, everything like that, slowly overwhelming Baki, forcing Baki to use maybe some other stances, pulling out his dinosaur-like stances to catch Ohma off guard, as that stuff is pretty unique, and just some abilities that kinda balance one another out, which may eventually force Ohma to pull out his max advance for a little bit, which I believe should give him more of an increase than what Baki's endorphin release would do. This would probably result in Ohma beating up on Baki a little bit, Baki potentially getting desperate and using potential one-shot KO techniques like cord cutting or potentially Bender to beat on him. But my personal belief, considering everything I've already laid out for this What If battle, that max output advance Ohma, considering he can also use Nikko style techniques, for how long in max advance isn't really known. He was kind of messed up after using one technique in his low long fight, so maybe not too many, but at a increased level I think it is more, and he'll beat on Baki a little bit, which will eventually result in Baki's demon back to be released, which will eventually give Baki the win, as Ohma will have his stamina drained. The downsides of maximum output advance will be too much at this point, so on top of Baki getting stronger out of nowhere with his demon back, it will eventually overwhelm him. Then if needed, Baki can just use his win con techniques. If the fight was to go in a grappling situation at any point, Baki does have various skills, and again his insane flexibility is kind of busted. Ohma also has some, insane flexibility. I think Baki's better in that regard, but Ohma does have his various grappling based or water cutter techniques, which may give him an edge somewhat, but I personally don't think so. Once the demon back comes out after Ohma's wasted the time in his maximum output advance, Ohma will lose. So yeah, I think Baki wins with equal stats as well. Again, I could say he's much more skilled with the comparisons to Yujiro and just talk about some Yujiro stuff, but I didn't really want to do that. So yeah, hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to check out all the other stuff in the description for more stuff relating to me. Shout out to these absolute mad lads who support the channel via the Patreon. Make sure you're subscribed, and yep, that's it guys. Peace.